Dear viewers, thank you so much for joining in today. Thursday, 8 to 9 p.m. is a beautiful place to be. In case you're probably a first timer, this is Ask the CEO. And my name is Appllo Sabiiti. My friends call me Bito. Now, on this beautiful show, from the sheer stories of sacrifice, building career paths, and the relentlessness of the folks in the business arena, we bring you people, we bring you stories, we bring you methods, principles that some of these people have had to employ to get to the very top. Now, we will be listening in from an amazing gentleman, one who I believe is not new to your faces, probably if you're an ardent follower of the beautiful show. His name is Engineer Reuben Tumwebaze, a man who has plied his trade across a number of companies. I mean, high-profile companies across the PAL. We're talking from Hima Cement. We're talking about what previously was called Century Bottling Company, now Coca-Cola, and many others. He's currently the managing director of Uganda Clays. Now, tonight we'll be talking about the art of adaptability and innovation. Two words, two of the most used words after hard work and attitude in the workplace. Engineer, I should say that it's a pleasure having you on the show once again. Could you please say hello to the dear viewers before we dive in, right in, please?
Dear viewers, good evening. It's a joy for me to again be here speaking to you. It's a privilege, and it's indeed my privileged opportunity to be here. I thank God. Have a blessed listening. Thank you.
All right, thank you so much, Engineer, and it's always a pleasure having you on this beautiful show. Now, I always do this repetition for emphasis. This show happens every Thursday from 8 to 9 p.m. The other thing I should also add is that we're always elated, very glad, honored, privileged when we know that you're listening in, you're watching us, catching the show from the other side. Now, our time is not our best ally as usual. It's always a struggle when we have you on the show for us to squeeze, punch in all your content into just about an hour of airtime. Now, we get to where the rubber meets the road. As a man who has worked in a number of high-profile companies, different positions at the top, we probably couldn't have had a better person talking about adaptability, an English word that means my capacity, your capacity, or better still, your capacity to modify yourself to fit into a new environment. I would like to believe so. Now, as someone who has been at it for now quite a number of years, what are some of the things on a scale, or even if we never use the scale, do you think it's actually worth it? Or how crucial is it for someone out there who's watching us tonight, probably is going through a transition or has just gone through one or is yet to go through a transition? How crucial is it for them to have a high degree of adaptability? Wow. Take us away.
Thank you very much, Sabiiti. And like I said, it's a great honor to have this great opportunity to be hosted at Family TV. And I always find it a joy because I learn a lot as I share with our dear listeners. This topic is interesting, and at the same time it's very exciting. As I went through understanding what I will share, I kept saying, okay, to what extent have I tried to adapt? Have I been adapting, or have I been flexible? What exactly has been the issue?
Yeah.
As I share this evening, I'll be racing through adapting as an individual and also adapting as organizations but more importantly, how to create adaptive or adaptable teams, or a culture that espouses adaptability, and of course a relationship to how this affects innovation and how are they related. Like individuals, both human beings and also organizations as individuals, the core thing is to ensure that you are effective, fast, and efficient. Effective is to say whatever you set out to achieve, you've achieved. The question is how efficient you've achieved that, and of course later how economical you can achieve that. It can be your aspirations to be maybe to reduce weight like me, one of the
I remember that.
But I'm still failing.
No, it's okay. I remember when you last came on the show, you now like to keep introducing yourself by using the term. You don't say I'm this years old. You want to say I'm this.
Yeah, and it has worked. The gray hair has somewhat reduced. Yeah, sure. But the issue of adaptability is core. Even when you look at creation, we see a lot of animals and plants adapting as much as possible and to dynamic environments. But for us as individuals and organizations, we have many things like the economical challenges have now set in. We've just come out of 2 years of a pandemic.
Yeah.
In November 2019, we started hearing about COVID in China. Even the names weren't clear. Little did we know that a few months down the road,
what started as a rumor,
it started as a rumor,
became statistics.
January 2020, we saw a great year, a prophetic year,
Yeah.
And all of a sudden, the whole country is closed,
and the whole world is on standstill.
And whereas people had heard about adaptability, maybe, but that created a great opportunity for people to be practically adaptable. They had to practice that, whether they wanted it or not. There are those who emerged as winners. There are those who emerged as losers. But when you look at where we are now, I think the entire population emerged as winners. And there are many things that happened.
Yeah.
Use of organizations were required and expected to continue working.
Yeah.
To provide services without interruption. By that time, I was in Uganda National Roads Authority. A year before, we had worked on a lot of things to do with networks, how to start meetings online, and before the pandemic was created,
you were already.
Yeah,
there's a wave.
Yeah, we had put an ERP system, how to even order online, approve things online, and our ED by that time, before the lockdown, activated the business continuity plan. I think that was a picture of now setting in the adaptability.
Yeah.
Being adaptable.
I think that's a very good example to look at this.
Yeah, but I also remember we bought a lot of food at an individual level, a lot of things. So by the time the second lockdown came in, people had really changed, and
the mindset had moved from. We did not see people rushing to the nearest wholesale store to stock food and toilet paper.
So those who survived, it depended on how flexible they were and probably how quickly they could interpret these issues and move on, especially organizations. We can say that at that time they were forced to adapt.
Yeah.
But the question is, how as an individual can you anticipate
That this is time to...
This time, or even future disruptions. You get many organizations that delay to anticipate future disruptions, individuals that delay to anticipate future disruptions find themselves in a confusion when real issues emerge.
Yeah.
I mean, we can extrapolate it to a level where you retire and you're not ready.
Yeah.
Okay? So to me, is that organizations and individuals are required to be effective and efficient. And this will require adaptability more than flexibility. One is proactive, another one is reactive. Okay? Because the adaptability and the flexibility are often confused. But you need to be flexible. You know, that is reactive. Most probably what happened during COVID was being flexible to the to individuals. I have a feeling we are forced to be flexible
because of the situation. I mean, the conditions
exactly.
at hand.
But adaptability is where you become proactive. You can anticipate as an individual. You can anticipate as an organization, and you can purposefully develop your adaptability capacity. It's not that it's a gift, you are born with it, it's a talent. You can develop the adaptability capability. And I think in my sharing we'll be looking at that. Both internal forces working within you and also external forces working around you can force you to be adaptive, but if you fail to be adaptive, can easily crush you.
Yeah.
At an organization level, we see political, for example, political change can mean a lot. The other day, William Ruto said that all port clearances, I think, are going back to Mombasa.
Yeah.
You know, they've been using these inland
Yeah.
ports. And that disrupts some businessmen within Uganda and the Great Lakes region.
People who had, in a way, established infrastructure
around there.
That, yeah.
Uganda just got their title the other day for a dry port. Are they going to develop it? How quickly can you adapt to those disruptions?
Yeah.
But how can you anticipate? That's why the most important thing is
the proactiveness.
How can you be proactive? And that's where the winners and losers will differ. At an individual level, how can you be proactive? And it's very important. So the fact is, changes around us are a reality. It's an individual reality, it's an organizational reality, it's a national reality. So the earlier we begin to see how a change, an anticipated change, becomes an integral part of our lives,
the better.
And that's, to me, that's a fact. Okay? So political can be an issue. Economic challenges, like now where we are, a simple war, Ukraine and Russia, miles
from here.
The global supply is
checked.
Is shocks us.
Yeah.
Fuel. Who anticipated that fuel can go up by close to 100%?
Yeah.
And that has changed everything.
A lot.
In industry, in business, in even the way we preach the gospel. For those who preach the gospel, you can't just pick your car and drive anyhow. So all those are real. What about the social structure changes?
A lot.
The technological advancements.
Yeah.
You delay to change and you're completely disrupted. You can see how Netflix
is struggling.
You see, it's an interesting
the stocks. This.
So, what is adaptability and innovation the same? Allow me to first look at the necessary ingredient for adaptability. And I'm going to quickly debate creativity versus innovation. Creativity is the ability to combine ideas, okay? To combine ideas in a unique way. disorganized ideas are combined in a unique way. That's creativity. And you'll find creative people are bringing ideas, even when you're in a meeting, they bring ideas and you wonder how
well they
can, you know, they can create that, how well they make those visual and use associations of different ideas.
Yeah.
When you see a person doing that, you say that person is creative. Innovation is bringing these ideas into useful results, useful products. Okay?
Yeah, sure.
So when you find a creative person, then you are halfway getting an innovative person. What you have to do is now either take away the procrastination from that person, and he transforms those ideas into useful products, useful systems, useful processes, and you can say that he has innovated.
And who knows, you could be the right person who needs to hear this tonight. We have Engineer Reuben Tumwebaze as our dear guest tonight, and we've been speaking about the art of adaptability and innovation. Now, oftentimes when we talk innovation, it's always very hard to speak about it without talking about creativity. Think about all colors of the rainbow thrown everywhere, all over the place, and then someone comes around and arranges them into that beautiful range of colors to form something that will appeal to your sight. This is Ask the CEO, a show that comes to you every Thursday from 8 to 9 p.m. Now, before we went for the short break, Engineer, you are speaking the diamond: adaptability, innovation, and creativity. Please.
Okay. Thank you very much. We had just said that creativity is the art of churning out ideas, distorted as they might appear, and bring them in that unique way, and with propositions and proposals. And we again stated that transforming those ideas, those creative ideas, into useful products, useful processes, useful outcomes is innovation. And therefore, innovative organizations have the ability to create a culture that allows creativity to thrive. In other words, creates an environment where the employees and their stakeholders bring up different ideas and they are merged together and create an innovative culture that transforms those ideas into useful products, useful processes, useful outcomes. Services. This can be products that can be sold out, or it can be internal products in terms of procedures, in terms of processes, in terms of collaborations that can enhance your competitiveness.
I hear you.
Now, what that means that creativity and innovation are necessary conditions that must be in place for a sustainable organization. But creativity and innovation alone is not sufficient. The sufficient condition is if there is a culture that allows adaptability. And therefore, if we can create a convergence around there, is that the necessary conditions for sustainable organization is creativity and innovation, and adaptability added onto it creates a sustainable organization, because even those products have to keep meeting the disruptive nature of our volatile environment. Yes, that is to an organization. What about an individual?
I was about to ask.
What about an individual?
We like to be personal.
Now, a successful organization, which can be a family, It can be a church, it can be a rules association or a community cannot thrive without successful individuals that are creative, that can churn those creative ideas into useful outcomes like products,
results,
systems, and processes. And these individuals cannot sustain if tomorrow's winds are ready to wipe them out. So they must be adaptable enough. And how can an individual be adaptive? Because things are really disruptive. It's an interesting challenge. So it's very important for us to know that our cardinal mandate, once again, is to create leaders at every level. If you are at a family level, as a family head, those children and your spouse
under your care
are candidates of your leadership training. You train them, you create models for them to be more successful than you are. One of the verse that stand me this in the last 2 weeks, it's 1 Kings chapter 11, as I read, when God is challenging Solomon, when Solomon misbehaved, when he married into the tribes that God never wanted. And God is coming to him, you've showed me a bad attitude, you've failed, you've done whatever, I am going to divide your kingdom and give it to your subordinate. But there is a stunning statement that he said, for the sake of David, your father, I will not divide the kingdom in your time. Okay? For the sake of David, your father, I will not divide the kingdom in your time. I will divide it in your son's reign. But even then, for the sake of David, your father, I will not take the whole kingdom away from him. I will leave him some good part. That was a very, very stunning revelation to me. That as you lead people, even at organizations, even in our families, it's very important to know that there are generations ahead that are going to benefit from you.
Or actually, if you're on the other side, there are generations that will face repercussions.
Exactly. My wish would be that my children are trained so that God talks to them in a statement like, now that you've done good, like your father, or better than your father, I will multiply your kingdom.
Extend the boundaries of your influence.
For your sake, now that you've done good, and for the sake of your father. But you can see Solomon enjoyed because the father did well, and yet Solomon was supposed to lose the kingdom. Okay? When God comes to Uganda Clays, may he say, for you guys, if they assuming they do a little bit bad, may he say, I am about to disintegrate Uganda Clays, but I will not do it for the sake
because
of Reuben, your servant, who worked here like 20 years ago. I will still sustain. The best would be, you've done well, like my servant Reuben, the systems you put in place, the creative culture, the innovative culture, the adaptability culture,
you've maintained, or even made them better.
You've surpassed, and now you can be a world class.
Subdue.
And it's very important that everybody listening to me understands that that is your part of your core mandate. And God will be happy. That's why God says, I will do this, but for the sake of David. Somewhere else he says, David my servant. So that is a sustainable culture must have a creative culture, an innovative culture, thriving, and also an adaptable culture that thrives. But also a successful individual has to move like that. It's not about being flexible alone. Winds are going here, you are flexible. You must surpass, but you must have anticipated some of these things. You must have put mechanisms in place to help. And therefore, these days, what is happening when we are recruiting people, many organizations have stopped reactive interviews. They now seek out for proactive mindsets. We used to ask questions like, tell me a time when you got annoyed. That is asking...
And what you did?
What you did. It's historical. And you know, I tell people that history is what? Is a science, a collection of facts, and you can... So you that question in that format is testing the capacity of the brains to capture information and remember it.
And in this very moment, replay.
So it does not help you to pick whether the person is adaptive. Today, we ask adaptability-oriented questions. Question like this: assume your main cash flow is no more. As a manager, what will you do? Okay? That question will help me to test how your brain can simulate different dynamics, different scenarios. It will help me to see how your brain churns out ideas and mix them. It will help me how you, this candidate before me, has been yearning for an opportunity.
And here it is.
To show his or her potential. And I will see how, in there as you answer questions, I will pick how well you can harness the teams to deliver your result. The question is, are we going to wait for interviews? At a home level, you can ask yourself a question. My child is 13 years. I've heard that adolescents are really problematic people. In the event that your child challenges your authority, in the event that your child comes home with another character, what will you do? Questions like, if you land into a tragic accident.
God forbid, like we like to say, but if, the big ifs.
Those big ifs.
Yes.
And as you answer them candidly, your brains will be... Exactly. So it's really very important to know that these days people are asking those kind of questions and they are trying to look for employees who have those adaptability mindsets. Leaders are being challenged into that format. And now the culture of adaptability is more needed, is more relevant than it was yesterday. At an individual level, at a departmental level, at a ministry level, for those who are in ministry, even at a leadership and a country level.
Some tough love right there coming in from a man who's tested it all almost at the helm of a number of institutions across the Pearl of Africa. We're talking Uganda. Before he went to Uganda Clays, he plied his trade at the Uganda National Roads Authority. And while there, he was a director, I think, in charge of infrastructure?
Road infrastructure protection.
Road infrastructure protection. And now, we're so privileged to have him here, sharing in his space, talking about the art, enhancing this art of adaptability and innovation. And like we already talked about, we said it's very hard to talk about innovation when you can't talk about creativity. They go just like a pair. like bread and butter. Now, back to you, engineer. I would like to ask a question. You've been so you've come in hard on this one. If I could ask, I know there are very, very many analogies, examples, or like you are saying, there must be a number of occurrences that you can call on in your memory that we would say are hands-on. Would you share of one of them or two of them for the benefit of the dear viewers, when you had to learn either a new task? Now you scratched the surface earlier, but could you go slightly, as much as professionalism would allow you to, just to give us one hands-on time and occurrence when you had to adapt or to change to a new domain, something that actually you are not used to before?
Yeah. First of all, when you see what we've so far discussed, we can now reasonably conclude that that like I chew, okay, which is tested by the question you just asked, remembering the situation I was in and bring back the information.
Yeah.
We've had IQ, we've had people talk of emotional, what? Intelligence. Okay?
Yeah.
And I can now conclude that schools of thoughts as well, they are concluding that there is also adaptability intelligence. You get? Because they've realized checking the emotional intelligence alone is not sufficient. I can deceive you that I am emotionally stable because I've chosen to be flexible around your behavior.
In that moment, or for a season?
For a season, I can even mimic. We see it in marriages, we see it in how you... I've had sometimes to harm myself because of the dynamics in my family or elsewhere, just to survive and pass. That is a show of emotional intelligence. You are able to, and I'm not saying that emotional intelligence is not important. It's difficult to adapt if your emotional intelligence is low.
Absolutely.
You must win in that area. You must be emotionally stable, you must be emotionally confident, and you must be emotionally empowering to the people that are around you. But the capacity to manipulate those volatile conditions that are stressing you, that are demanding your emotional intelligence display, to not to be crushed, but also to get useful outcomes out of it, is what we are calling adaptability.
Sure.
Beyond flexibility, but proactively harnessing those conditions. And I think it's very important. The question is, can it be tested? Yes, it can be tested. I've shown you one of the ways how we can test it, asking the question to see how your brains...
That was one of the questions lined up that I was going to ask.
Yeah, and one of other things you can test, whether somebody before you has an adaptive culture, is whether he has an opportunity and is able to unlearn.
Yeah. It's not just about learning, but also unlearning.
Yes, if you see how COVID affected us, how the global systems are affecting us, they are calling us into a situation of unlearning, even to zero. You completely unlearn. Some things might be required to do that. So in that, as you challenge your teams, even at home, you have to quickly learn. Recently, we as a family, we had to discuss that issue. We are used to all being career people, my wife and myself, but we realized that we are not going to be adaptive. COVID shocked us. So we had to say, no, we have to go into business.
Yeah.
Now, we had never done business before. You get? So my wife is now running a supermarket. She had to really unlearn a lot of things quickly. So the question is, did I get an opportunity to unlearn or to be adaptable? Yes. As I go into that quickly with a few remaining minutes, the third test you can look at a person, even within yourself, is exploration versus exploitation. Exploration mind, explorative mind. And people with an adaptive culture, even organizations with adaptive culture, have an exploratory mind rather than exploitative mind.
Looking out for the possibilities.
Right now, I can choose as Uganda Clays, as a managing director for Uganda Clays, to say we've been around for 70 years, we have the market, people are buying all our products, and I can choose to exploit that. Okay? Exploration mind will demand that I look at current trends, okay, and how to serve my people, both who are 60 years, but also my son, who is just finishing university.
Yeah.
And so that person expects to be served different.
Yeah.
Today we have people in the diaspora that are buying our products online. And yet we are more or less a sold out market. You can easily say, those ones, let them be there, I have my people here.
Yeah.
And that will not work. Okay, and there are many people who have been wiped out because they concentrate in exploiting than exploring. Yeah. So it's very important to know those three elements.
It is very interesting because what we are talking about, dear viewer, is just imagine someone a person or a family, or let's even just think about a company that never wanted or that never actually took the path of the computer at the turn of the century. And a few years down now, we're speaking 2 decades plus down, they find themselves in a virtual world where meetings are held online, and they probably lost all their customers and clientele base just because they never proactively thought about getting into the computer world. What a shame. I hope that with this message that we've heard and listened to today, we'll be able to be better people, not just at the workplace, but also at home. I would like to give you a moment to give your parting shots on what has been a very amazing show.
Thank you very much. Like you asked, one of the things that I've done to adapt to changing environments, even as I change jobs, was first of all to realize early 2003, I had to quickly realize my weaknesses. And through mentorship, I started working on different dynamics. And they came to help me later when I joined the government for the first time. I had not known how governments work. And I realized that I needed to change again quickly. I was used to manufacturing, where I am now. But the gift of adaptability helped me a lot. I didn't know that I was being adaptive until recently. But there are 7 things that I want to give to my listeners quickly that have helped me and can help many people. 1, if you want to adapt, you must be a great listener. Because as conditions change, you must listen enough to know whether you are still at par or whether things have changed and what is the world saying around you. Secondly, you must stay open-minded. You're not going to be rigid. And that's the same as I said, you must be able to unlearn. You must be open-minded. And to me, that is very, very important. As you juggle roles as a family, at work, as now at my age at 47, I am an opinion leader. I mean, I have to dress that new role as well. 3, always improve yourself.
Continuous improvement.
Continuous improvement. If you've gone into agriculture, again, you must improve. Study around agriculture, around that trade, collaborate, get groups around yourself.
Yeah.
Okay?
I hear you.
There is one of the CEOs around who told me that every 10 years you must get a substantial qualification. But also in between you must read. The first skill that helps and has helped me is learn to determine what is in your control and what is not in your control.
Yeah.
What is the big fuss on something that is not in your control? COVID has come. So why are you worried about it?
You can't do anything about it.
You state that and concentrate on what you can control. I will protect myself and my family. I will make sure there is food security. I will make sure I keep giving them hope, because leaders are dealers in hope. Very important. 5, as we finish, I'm remaining with just 3. 5, learn to work with everyone. You don't choose your bosses. You don't choose your spouse. By the way, you think you chose your spouse, but the thing, as he changes, you don't choose. Just be like Adam, who just said, wow. Just receive. But your wife and your husband will keep changing. You don't have a choice. You don't choose your children. You don't choose your bosses. You don't choose your workers. Even if you recruit a person, dynamics change and the person becomes different. So learn to work with everyone, irrespective. Learn. You have to adapt and learn. 6 is learn to take initiative at any given time. This helps you to be amiable, to be loved, to be liked, to be a darling in every situation. Have the initiative. Lastly, what has helped me is ensure you stay ahead of trends. You stay ahead of trends by reading ahead of everyone, if possible. Like these days, data analytics, everything. In agriculture, you're ahead of everyone. In whatever you do, even in your family, you can choose to be ahead of other families by collaborating with them, by finding different associations, by talking to your children, by taking them to interesting schools and being available for them. Just be ahead of trends. In IT, in everything, there is no opportunity to be behind. Even if you're a local farmer, be ahead of everyone. To me, when you are able to adapt like that, and you are able to get innovative ideas and change them into solutions, the world cannot be your limit. Your limit is beyond that. Thank you very much.
The world will definitely be on your feet if you do all that he says. Thank you so much for keeping us company from when we began and until now. We do this every Thursday from 8 to 9 p.m. Now, they say oftentimes when we can't have the intelligence to know that one phase of life is done and we're supposed to move to the next, many a times, life steps in and moves on you. Now, don't wait for life to step in and move on you. Be adaptable, like our guest says tonight. And with that, we hope we'll catch you next week. Same time, same station. This is Church of Uganda Family TV. This show airs Thursday, 8 to 9 p.m. and it's powered by Young and Flourishing. Good night.